So we know that in the DEI space, there are terms and words, but inclusive management is a lot more than just being buzzword compliant. It's a lot more than knowing dictionary terms. And we know that it's important to understand what diversity is, all of the ways in which we're different, and to understand what equity is, all of the ways in which we create equal or special access and opportunity for everyone within our organization. And we know it's important to know what inclusion is, fostering an environment where everyone feels welcome. Well, we'll go beyond the definitions and into experiencing what and why inclusion matters. So when we think about how important inclusion is within your organization, it's really important to take a step back. And as Diane Campbell with American Express says, you know what? We take for granted when we say to leaders that they need to be more inclusive, we take for granted that they know what that really means. So we want to go beyond just the definition of what inclusion means and to the application. And as was mentioned in my introduction, to what that means from an emotional intelligence standpoint. How do we connect this with what our managers need, to the core competencies that every manager needs in order to be inclusive, in order to ensure that everyone on their team has a sense of belonging? How do we do that? What does it mean? Well, you've probably seen floating around social media this wonderful illustration of equality versus equity. Well, allow me to demonstrate and kind of break down this metaphor. As you see in this example, that you've got three young boys that are trying to see over a fence. And I love this particular metaphor because as a mom of four boys, I'm often using them as an example of equality versus equity. In this case, everyone has a box. In my house, I was of the generation where, I'm cooking one meal, and everybody better eat it. That's what my mama said. But I knew that my children had different nutritional needs. And so as a result, while I made sure that everyone had a meal, just as we see in this example, equality means everyone has something, but do they have what they need for their needs? Introduce equity. Equity is the concept of ensuring that yes, they have a meal, or in this illustration, a box, but they have the box that they need. They have a box that meets their unique needs and provides opportunity, in this case, to strive towards equal outcomes. So in my house, I wanted all of my children to be nourished and to have proper nutrition at their meals. And that often meant making some adjustments to what those meals were. Yes, before long, I became a little bit of a short order cook within some boundaries, but it was all about making sure that my young men had the nutrition that they need. And within our organizations, it is about ensuring that our team members have what they need to succeed, based on their background, based on their perspectives, based on their abilities and their historical marginalization as members of different groups. Equity brings us to equality. So when you think about how you can implement equity within your organization, there are several examples and opportunities always around you. And when we think about what it is that we are doing to ensure that everyone feels noticed, seen, and heard, that's where we get to implement equity. That is where that becomes a part of what we are doing within our organizations. So this is a point of narration, as I mentioned to you earlier. What we would do is that we would move into breakout rooms. But for sake of our time together, we are not going to go into breakout rooms, which is an amazing opportunity in a learning environment to engage with the material, to engage with other participants. We're going to emulate that a little differently, but I still want you to get the benefit of this exercise. So I want to encourage everyone to reflect on your own experience. Reflect on what true inclusion looks and feels like to you in the workplace. Think of a time when you felt included. Think of a time when you felt excluded. Let's pause for a moment. Now, if you will, Share with us in the chat. When is the time that you felt included? What has happened that has given you a sense of inclusion? Let's share with the rest of the professionals that are here in this virtual space, and let's see what kind of responses we have. And I'm going to scroll here just a minute because I think these are going to be incredibly valuable kickoff points to help us see what inclusion feels like to different people. Because spoiler alert, we're going to have a lot of different answers. And the reason that is important is because when we think about what inclusion means to us, if we don't participate in events like this, we could begin to think that inclusion is to everyone like it is to us, when the reality, it's not. Perfect example while you're bringing those into the chat. I believe that my birthday should be a national holiday. And the fact that it's not, I still take issue with that from a legal perspective. I'll petition Congress later. But because to me, birthdays are so important. And when we consider what someone feels is a moment of inclusion, it's often aligned to their values, their perspectives, and their preferences. And it takes an understanding of those and a connection with those to ensure that people feel included.